That is insanity. Insanity. You're texting when you're driving? That's sakanas nefashos. That's life-threatening. You could have kids in your car. You're a father. You're a mother. That's just a little hint how enslaved we are. Even, unfortunately, when we use it as a tool, the tool is enslaving. We don't have workplaces anymore. We don't have work hours anymore. We're busy with our emails, with our WhatsApps, with whatever. Forget about the entertainment. Forget about it. Forget about everything else that's going on. It just transformed life. All of a sudden, people embraced it in a crazy way. Where's your private life? Where are your priorities? Money's important. Believe me, I get it. But what about all the other things which enrich our lives? I'm not even talking about spirituality. I'm talking about relationships. I'm talking about you have a hobby. You want to do something. You're a person. You have so much to yourself.
Baruchim Abayim, and welcome to Torah Talks Chazaq's program with special guests. We have with us all the way from Lakewood, New Jersey, Rabbi Nechemiah Gottlieb. Baruch haba, welcome, Rabbi. How are you?
Baruch Hashem. How are you, Yaniv?
Baruch Hashem. It's so good to have the Rabbi on Chazaq Torah Talks, and we're going to be speaking about contemporary challenges, eternal values. And before we get to the topic, we get a little bit of background about the Rabbi and the great work you're involved with.
Okay, we'll start with, I think, from where it's pertinent to our topic. My background is really in chinuch for many years. I was a Rebbe and a Menal in Chadorim, both in Eretz Yisrael and in America. I spent a major part of my adult life in Eretz Yisrael. I came to the United States to open a cheder in Lakewood. And through that, I became interested in the topic of technology, not on the technical angle, but on the chinuch angle, the spiritual angle, initially what it was doing to the youth, and then what it's doing to adults, as well as that became more and more evident. I was actually involved before the internet was around. It was before that there were videos and computer games and other things which had us concerned. And so through my work as a Menal, I became interested in this, and I was in Lakewood, and I had a close connection with Rav Solomon, the Mashgiach Zatzal. When he started to work on the internet challenges, he started with chinuch. He started with working with the chadarim and the children. And as a menal, I became involved in that. And eventually, when I left my cheder and I was actually planning to go back to Eretz Yisrael, I was almost literally with the suitcases packed. He said, "You know what? Stay in America and work full time with me on technology." And that's what it was. I asked my Gadol, who was Rav Leib Steinman, who was the one who sent me initially to America. I asked him, he said, "Well, of course, the Mashgiach needs you, stay here." And that was approximately 15 years ago. And I started to do it in a semi-formal way. We started with something then called TAG, which nobody had ever heard of, Technology Awareness Group. It was nothing. It was Nechemiah Gottlieb in an office, talking to schools, to communities, about making different guidelines and awareness, and that was it. And today we're in a very, very different place, Baruch Hashem. But that's where we started from.
Yeah, Baruch Hashem, I can attest that I know on a personal level the amount that TAG has been doing for Klal Yisrael. A lot of people associate with the big asifa that happened right here where I am in Queens, which really brought a lot of awareness about this topic. And Baruch Hashem, there's a TAG branch in basically more or less every frum community in the Jewish world, every Orthodox Jewish community. We're proud to say that in Queens, we always had a mom and pop situation, small matzav situation. And recently, Baruch Hashem, there's a storefront, and there's actually a campaign today we're involved with also. I'm encouraging them to get involved with. And Rabbi, we're going to jump into it. How has technology changed our relationship with God, for better or for worse?
Okay, I'm sure that a lot of our viewers can list it for better, starting from Torah Anytime through any number of other apps or websites which might help us with doing mitzvahs and spirituality and so on and so forth. I'll leave that. Each person has their own narrative to tell about that, and I don't think they need my help. I think that that's overshadowed in an incredible way by the for worse, and probably the biggest red herring, which the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, has planted in this area, is the incredible filth which is on the internet. And a lot of people, when they think about the problems that they're dealing with the internet, they say, oh, there's that terrible stuff that even non-Jewish people don't admit in public that they're busy with it, and that's the problem. And then those people either decide that they don't have an inclination to that or whatever, and it's not a problem for them. Maybe it's a problem for their kids, not a problem for them, or they put on some type of a tag filter and they say, okay, we took care of the problem. And that is a red herring, because yes, it's a big problem, and if God forbid somebody falls into there, it's very, very bad for the neshama. And sometimes it's if they fall very far in, then it can be very bad for their life, for their marriage, and for everything else. But that is easily identifiable, and it's easily rectifiable to the largest extent. Now, I'm not saying that a person's not going to get his hands on another device, but if you want to have, there are very good filters. In the past, filters maybe slowed down devices and they ate up your battery, and there's all types of legends about the terrible things that filters have done. Baruch Hashem, the filters today are very, 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 very up to date. And as you mentioned before, many communities, 65 communities around the world, have active tag offices. The most recent community to join just recently was Las Vegas, so on and so forth. They're not Atlantic City yet, but Las Vegas is there, and Bli Ayin Hara, and so we're talking about hundreds of thousands of people around the world who are fully involved with the digital world, and they have wonderful, wonderful filters. But in order, it's a long talk to get to the bottom. We have a short schmooze together today, and to really understand the topic, it's hours and hours and hours and hours of discussion. So I'm going to try to give just a little blick, as they say, just to take a little peek at it. And I want to come at it more from a hashkafa angle. If we had to summarize, what is our job in galut? What is our job in exile? What do we need to do? The answer is that the main thing we need to do is to protect ourselves from the influences of the umot ha'olam. That's the job. If we want to get out, we have to be hein am levadad yishkon. We have to be, as much as we can, isolate ourselves. Now, at certain periods during the exile, the umot ha'olam, they did the job for us. They put us in ghettos, they locked us out of professions, they persecuted us, and it was relatively speaking easier. It was a lot of physical suffering. But once those walls come down, it becomes very, very difficult. And we know that, for example, in Germany, Rav Shamshon Raphael Hirsch had to do a lot of work to take people who were integrated into the German society and give them that inner core of Yiddishkeit, that no, we are very, very fundamentally different, and we, our purpose in this world is different. It's not just mitzvot. It's not just we have 613 commandments. Our internal makeup, for example, we are Rachmanim, Baishanim, Gomlei Chasadim. We have a certain type of softness inside of us that's Jewish in nature, and many other things that go into that. And our job is to protect it. So now let's think. I'm going to quote the great Rosh Hashiva Rav Elia Brudny, who said once, if the internet is a global village, as we know that's what it's called. So he says, here you have a global village where all the elements of Umot Olam are there. What is a Jewish person doing in that global village? How did you become a resident of the global village? You're trying to protect yourself. Everything shrinks. Everything's in the palm of your hand. So I think that is what we have to recognize over here. If I wake up in the morning and I say, look, I live in America. I speak English. The people are friendly. Trump is bombing the reactors. Everything is so. I need to erect walls. I need to remind myself how fundamentally different I am. Digital technology is an incredible challenge to that. And if we lose sight of that, then I'm going to use the word. I'm going to say we're toast. So that's what we have to. That's the ball that we have to keep our eye on.
100%, Rabbi Gottlieb. Very, 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 very true. So where does one draw the line between using technology as a tool? There's tools that you could use technology, whether for business, wherever it may be, versus becoming enslaved to it, which we've known and heard of many stories.
Right. Well, you said in your question, you said, where does one draw the line? And I like that word, because maybe there is one person in the world who mastered that. But that is not, so many people say, yeah, I use it responsibly and whatever. I want to tell you something, a statistic which I totally made up, but I'm going to use it anyway. And I'm going to say that 93% of frum adults text when they drive. Now, I might be off by a few percents here and there. That is insanity. Insanity. You're texting when you're driving? That's sakanas nefashos. That's life-threatening. You could have kids in your car. You're a father. You're a mother. That's just a little hint of how enslaved we are. And the answer is that even, unfortunately, when we use it as a tool, the tool is enslaving. We don't have workplaces anymore. We don't have work hours anymore. We're busy with our emails, with our WhatsApps, with whatever. Forget about the entertainment. Forget about it. Forget about everything else that's going on on the thing. Forget about all the diversions. It just transformed life. Something which was a curse. It's called Bizeat Apecha Tochal Lachem. We got kicked out of the Garden of Eden, and we unfortunately have to work. Is something which all of a sudden people like embraced it in a crazy, crazy way. Where's your private life? Where are your priorities? Money's important. Believe me, I get it. But what about all the other things which enrich our lives? I'm not even talking about spirituality. I'm talking about relationships. I'm talking about you have a hobby. You want to do something. You're a person. You have so much to yourself. So I think that this is in the final analysis, it's an almost insurmountable challenge for real. It's, as soon as a person has a smartphone, it's really, really hard. By the way, you're not a master of yourself unless you're a very, very principled person, because you have other contacts. You have people who are pinging you and so on and so forth. And you have notifications and you have updates and you have all types of stuff going on, which are pulling at you. A very handy example for our dealing with digital technology for many, many things. Every one of the viewers here can try to figure out how to apply this. Is food. The way most people in our generation struggle with their weight and struggle with eating. You can be very principled about your diet, but that lasts until about 10 o'clock at night, and then then everything goes haywire. So it's the same thing. You have a device which you are connected to it, 24/6, 24/6 to tell yourself a story. I'm always going to be in control of this. It's very, very, it's very, very difficult. And I think that we have to be brutally honest with ourselves. And some things we can't change. And maybe my work does necessitate doing certain things, whatever. But, I believe that every person should sit down and make a list. What are the things which are unchangeable? What are the things which are changeable? What are the things that I really want? What are the things that I don't want? What are the things that I don't want, but I'm not strong enough to deal with them right now? Give yourself a list. Have yourself some type of a map which tells you, like a heat map, where am I being drawn to, where am I being sucked to, and get some awareness of what's going on. That's a first step, I think, in the right direction.
100%. Cheshbon nefesh. You should have some sort of accountability of where you're holding. Rabbi, what's the biggest spiritual danger of smartphones that people overlook?
Okay, that's a great question. So again, the biggest, in absolute terms, spiritual danger is, of course, the intense averot that a person can do with their smartphone. And we said that most people don't overlook that. I'm not saying that nobody overlooks it, but most people don't. Baruch Hashem. And if any one of our viewers has not yet tried out having a filter, I recommend it. Do it. Go tonight or tomorrow to your local tax center. Try it out. Promise yourself you're going to try it for a week. You're going to try it for 2 weeks. At least, God forbid somebody feels sick some way, whatever. He goes to the doctor. He says, I don't know, I'm having a heart attack. Maybe I'm getting cancer. The doctor says, what, let's rule it out. It's probably not. So rule it out. At least you can come to Shamayim. You could say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Hashem, I tried. It didn't work for me. It's this was impossible. But at least you'll be able to say, I tried. Don't leave yourself without trying something which works for hundreds and thousands of people. By the way, the filters are very, very flexible. The idea of the filter is to allow you to have what you want and to empower you not to have what you don't want. Nobody's going to dictate to you what the level of the filter is. Whatever you want to have, you can have. But there's for sure things which every single person who's with us together today doesn't want to be tempted with. So rule that out. Just use the technology to fight the technology. But I think that the biggest spiritual danger which we overlook is that we're on a down escalator. We don't recognize enough. Number one, that Hashem runs the world. There's nothing neutral in the world. That is a fiction. If this thing is here, it has a God-given reason. And summing it all up, and this might not make me popular if I say this, but I'm going to say it anyway because my job is to say the truth. Summing it all up, the God-given reason is not to increase spirituality, because that's not overwhelmingly what it's doing. Summing it all up, the God-given reason for this thing is to present a test to Am Yisrael and to see how we deal with the test, because tests are what make us grow. Natata lireecha nes lihitnoses. God tests us in order to make us greater. And that's what it is. And that's why it's a down escalator, because we know that the Yetzer Hara doesn't come to a person on day one and say, do terrible things. He comes little by little. In Eretz Yisrael, they call it shitata salami. Like when you're slicing a salami, each slice is paper thin, but it goes across the machine again and again and again. That's what he does to us. So it's a down escalator, because once we have it, the Yetzer Hara is busy overtime. You need another app. You need another update. You need to join another group. You need to do this. You need to do that. Number one. And number two, because technology, as we know, in and of itself develops and it becomes more and more necessary. So if I lose sight of that, if a guy's on the down escalator and he thinks that he's on firm ground, he's going to end up at the bottom. So that is, to me, the biggest spiritual danger. Losing sight of what the spiritual essence of this thing is, that it was given to make us greater people by overcoming this thing, and not recognizing that it is bringing us slowly down. And most people, some people just dive full, they're all in on it and whatever. And, okay, that's a different philosophy. But the people who are thoughtful about this, and they came in with this concept of, like you said before, I want it to be a tool and so on and so forth. Just go back, replay. Where were you 5 years ago? Where were you 10 years ago? What did you tell yourself before you got the device? Where are you now? And you will see that we are, as individuals and as a society, collectively going down. And if we can recognize this, we can do something about it.
Very, very, very true and very, very powerful. It's definitely an nisayon, a challenge. The work that we do over here at Chazaq, we're always getting individuals, young and old, all backgrounds, saying that they have difficulties and challenges, whether it's young or old. So we encourage everyone to please make sure to get a filter. Rabbi Gottlieb, enjoying every single moment. One may ask, what does it mean to protect your neshama, your soul, in the digital world? How does one do that?
Okay, so I think to a large extent, it's the sum total of what we discussed, recognizing that we are in galut and we have a job here, which is to protect ourselves, and the down escalator and the other things that we mentioned. But here's a practical tip. This is what I think, and I want to say, one of the things which makes this conversation so challenging for our community is that there's no one size fits all. Now, in other areas, maybe not everybody wants to be in the box, and that's fine. But there are boxes. We could find out. If a person wants to know the absolute laws, the halachot of tzniut, what is appropriate and what is not, you could know. Now, maybe the different customs of this community and that community. But in the end, you can ask a rabbi. Now, maybe I'm not holding there, and maybe I'm doing my own thing, and that's the way we are. We're not, but there are boxes. Kashrut, yes, you could. There are objective things. If you are Sephardi, it's Bet Yosef. That's what you need to be doing. If you're Ashkenazi, you don't have that restriction. Whatever it is, these are here. It's very individual. It depends on my, on where I live. It depends what I do for a living. It depends on my family situation. It depends on so many different things. So it's really an area in which we each have to look at where I'm holding and where I want to get to. And I think that is the most important practical tip, besides for, again, encouraging everybody to run and try out the filter, is to make technology into a growth area. Technology is something which nobody should be complacent with where they're holding. Again, we're on the down escalator. What do I need to do if I'm on the down escalator? I need to be going up. And it's something which I encourage people, and I'm going to say this in a very formal way, and you can feel free to disregard it. I just want to give some way to conceptualize it. So I'm going to give something very precise, but everybody should do what works for them. Once a month, maybe, we're now Erev Rosh Chodesh, it's Yom Kippur Katan, it's a day of introspection. Erev Rosh Chodesh is a day when traditionally people, should be thinking about their actions and doing teshuvah. So every Erev Rosh Chodesh, or whatever day, or once in 2 months, or once in 3 weeks, or whatever you deem appropriate for yourself, we sit down and we say, how can I take another little step back? What is something that I can do? Is it an app which I might want to delete from my phone? Is it not using the phone at the dinner table? Is it when, when I'm in the car, giving my undivided attention to the kids? I'm not talking about texting now, but just one time a teenager expressed himself to me. He said, am I so boring that my parents can't talk to me in the car? They're always on the phone. They're always busy with somebody else. They have nothing significant to talk about with me. It was just so much hurt, so much pain. I want to give another idea, which I know is beyond revolutionary, but I think to me it's a very valuable idea. A person should say Modeh Ani in the morning before they look at their phone. Say hello to your creator before you look at your statuses and everything else that you have to share with your friends. You woke up in the morning, Modeh Ani levanecha, thank you Hashem. It takes less than 30 seconds. And I know that means that you will have to invest $7 in an alarm clock. I know. And by the way, this is the genius, the intense genius of the Yetzer Hara when it comes to smartphones. Not just that he tossed talk and text, which, as you remember, you remember the history. We had an iPod Touch. It didn't have a phone on it. Nobody predicted that Steve Jobs was going to get into the smartphone business. That wasn't where he was. Now, talk and text, or maybe for some people WhatsApp, but talk and text is today, people consider it indispensable. I cannot be without my talk and text even for a second. I need to get hold of people. People need to get hold of me. A lot of the other things on the smartphone, maybe I could do without. Once we wrap it into one bundle, then I can't leave the bundle even for a second. A clock, an alarm clock, ensures that your first conscious second in the day will be given over to your phone, and everything that you missed in the few short hours that you allowed yourself to part from it in the night. And I think that a statement to Akadosh Baruch Hu and a statement to myself about my autonomy from this device, my religious priorities, my human priorities. I woke up in the morning. I'm thankful to Hashem. Thank you, Hashem. You woke me back up. I have another day in front of me. I think that that's another incredible step that people can take. So there are many, many different types of steps which I outlined over here. The bottom line is people have to do things which are meaningful for them, things, which set them on this path. It doesn't have to be big things. It's really interesting. People talk to me very often about curbing their smartphone addiction, or some people, totally get rid of their smartphone. They have a flip phone and a tablet or whatever it is. And there's really two philosophies. One philosophy says, if I want to curb the addiction, let me take something really tough, like Candy Crush, which I'm busy with, for hours and hours and hours. I have to tell you, Rabbi Yaniv, I have to tell you, I fly a lot. I'm back and forth from Israel, and I fly a lot. And I'm like, it's mind-boggling. You go on the plane, you see people who are obviously successful, like this guy's a lawyer, this guy's a doctor, this guy's who knows what he is. You see success, they could be hours and hours and hours in infantile games or just empty things. Like, I'm not talking about mutar, asur, or whatever. I'm talking about like to where have we descended? But leaving that on the side. So some people say, let me get a big thing, which is going to be very, very meaningful if I get rid of it. And other people, and that might be right for you, but other people say, you know what? Let's start from a meaningless app. First month, I'm going to look for an app which I never used in my life, and I'm going to take it off. And that's fine. Don't worry, because you're on a path. The next month, you take off another app. You got some momentum. You're moving forward. It's not so hard. You're feeling good about yourself. You're on a self-improvement program. That's fine. And I want to tell you something really deep. The Yetzer Hara is tricky. He tricks us. The Nachash was arum. The Nachash was very, very, the snake in the Garden of Eden was very, 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 very tricky. And we have to employ tricky with the Yetzer Hara. So we tell the Yetzer Hara, don't worry, I'm never taking off the big apps. I'm just playing a little game with myself. I'm taking off little things. It's fine. We'll get the last laugh. So I believe that this is the thing. We have to look at technology as a growth area. It's an area in which I'm constantly looking for ways to grow, not too much, not too intense. But if I'm moving that direction, then, I'm heading in the right direction.
Rabbi Nechemiah Gottlieb, so powerful, practical tips that every single one of us, no matter who you are, where you live with the situation, everyone could take something small upon themselves. I'll give you a small example on a personal level. A while ago when I got a phone, I told myself no such thing as games. Never ever play any games, waste of time, this and that. At the end of the day, I love that advice of also removing one app at a time, little by little, remove yourself. Very, 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 very powerful. Before I ask for the final message, one more comment. This past Shabbat, I had the zchut, the merit to be in Flatbush, and I had the zchut, the merit to meet with Rabbi Yosef Harari Raful. And Baruch Hashem got a lot of chizuk from the Rav and how he started and how he built the beautiful empire of Torah that he has, Torah. And the Chaver told me about how one day the Rav decided no more smartphones in the Kehillah. And everyone turned to flip phones. It was a switch like that. And that's how I think one of the phones figure something started. And there's two shitas, there's two solutions. Like Rabbi Gottlieb is saying, slowly but surely, but there is also those that just like that. Baruch Hashem.
Definitely, and he is an inspiration, but more than he is an inspiration, his people are an inspiration. You're talking about hundreds and hundreds of family who follow their Rav, their Torah leader, unquestioningly, and it's a big bracha when somebody has such a leader, and it's very inspiring to see hundreds. It's not, I'll tell you something that I say. I say that almost across the board, nobody has real Mesirut Nefesh for technology. Why? Because let's take people like Lakewood people like myself. As the case may be, I don't have a smartphone, thank God. I don't have internet in my home. Maybe for some of our viewers, it's hard to imagine life that way, but believe me, we're living just fine. I don't consider that a big Mesirut Nefesh. Yes, is it a hassle if I have to go out to my car to check something or go to my office? It's a hassle. Is that Mesirut Nefesh? I'm very, very, very happy with my lifestyle. I couldn't be more happy. Then there's a large, I don't want to be mekatreg, I don't want to say something not okay about Am Yisrael, but there's the large majority of people who are basically, they're in. Now, maybe they have filters, but they're not really being Moser Nefesh. They're doing it. They're living the digital life. They're doing, they're bound to their devices. The people who were Moser Nefesh, who I take my hat off to, are the people who got rid of their smartphones. That's murder. That is really, really difficult. And anybody who did that is a tzaddik and a gibar. I have no doubt that there's a special place for them in Gan Eden. As one person told me, he said that, a very Talmid Chacham, and he had a smartphone, and he got rid of it. And he said, maybe, and he spoke to me a short while afterwards. He said, maybe a smartphone is sakanat nefashot, maybe it's life threatening. He said, but a flip phone is suicide. So, a person who went from a smartphone to a flip phone, I give him all the respect in the world.
Amazing, Rabbi Gottlieb. So we have a minhag, a custom of a final message for our broader audience. With all these beautiful insights that the Rabbi gave us, contemporary challenges, eternal values.
The final message is this. As we know, we have been told by the Chafetz Chaim and other great leaders from previous generations that at the end, there's going to be a massive spiritual war. And we know that everything we have from the Avot HaKadoshim, from Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, there's been an investment in the spirituality of Klal Yisrael. Some of that happened in beautiful times with the Beit HaMikdash and the Ma'amad Har Sinai and so on and so forth. And some of that happened in the darkest of times. We had crusades, we had the Spanish Inquisition, we had the Holocaust, we had everything else. All of that investment, the incredible investment of spirituality, the incredible investment of suffering is waiting for the final link in the chain. It's waiting for that last generation to make good on the investment. It's all there. We just have to cash in. And this is our ticket. Digital technology, these are not my words. Many Gdolei Yisrael express themselves on this. This is it. We have to grab this opportunity. We can't look at it. We're not allowed to. It's too significant a thing to look at it just like the Umot HaOlam and say, yeah, it's a phone, it's an upgrade, it's an app, it's a this, and I also have to make sure that I'm not doing Averot. That's missing the boat. This was put in this world for a spiritual reason. Let's focus on that reason. And, we're all very, very simple people. We're not massive tzaddikim. We can't make huge changes maybe overnight, most of us, but we can all commit ourselves to focusing on the Ikar, recognizing this as a feature of the Galut, but we're not in the middle of the Galut. We're at the end. It's Ikata de Mashiach, like the Chafetz Chaim said. That doesn't mean Mashiach is coming tomorrow, but it means that everything that's happening in the world now is preparatory to be at the Mashiach. Every single one of us with our device can either step up at the end and be proud. Mashiach is going to say, you know what? You worked on yourself. You controlled yourself. You had spiritual priorities. You had family priorities. You had social priorities. You made the right priorities. I came a millisecond faster because of you. Or, I'm not going to say the other tzad, because I give a bracha to every single one of your viewers that they're going to be the ones who are going to make Mashiach proud, and they will be proud. Bibi'at goel tzedek b'mirav yamenu. Amen.
Amen. Yeshakach, Chazaq, Rabbi Nechemiah Gottlieb. Very, very, very true and very powerful words. The challenges of technology, everyone is encouraged, and we constantly mention this, to go to the tag centers, wherever you may be. And if you don't have one for whatever reason, make sure to reach out to Rabbi Gottlieb, reach out to Chazaq, we'll put you together. and they'll get something started. B'ezrat Hashem Yitbarach. One thing, all the various different platforms that host Chazaq Torah Talks and help us spread the light and Chizuk to Am Yisrael. Over 202 episodes, Baruch Hashem. I want to thank Natan behind the camera and the entire staff. We should all be. We want to remind everyone, Chazaq Torah Talks Tuesday nights, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join us and spread the word to everyone and anyone you know. And we should all be zochet to see the Geulah Shlema, like the Rabbi said. Shekam b'meirav b'minisvin our days. Amen ve'amen. Shikach Rabbi Gottlieb.
Amen. Thank you so much, Rabbi Yaniv, for the opportunity. Hatzlacha.